Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit nbda.com.
Are you looking to connect with the heart of the bicycle retail industry? Advertise here on the NBDA Bicycle Retail Radio podcast. Each episode brings together specialty retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions on the latest industry issues. With thought-provoking content that features relatable, real-world tips for success, you can reach your target audience where they listen, learn, and grow. Visit nbda.com to get started today.
Welcome back to Bicycle Retail Radio. Thanks for being here. Today I sat down with Mike Gann, president of Look Cycle USA. We talk about his leadership experience across major bike brands, looks forward-facing IBD strategy. We talk about the brand's iconic legacy and product strategy and their unique approach to supporting retailers. Mike shares lots of actionable advice for shops looking to grow their business. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Mike, welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little overdue here. Look has been a great partner of the NBDA, and I thought it was time that we had you on the podcast to give our listeners, especially our specialty bicycle retailers, more intel on what's happening at Look USA, how they can work with you. So I thought before we do that, let's just get to know you a little bit longer. I know you have a long history in the bicycle industry. How did you find the cycling industry? For me, my father introduced me. What was it for you?
Same for me. So I'm a lifelong member of the bike cult. I started cycling after my father had an injury. He lost his leg when I was younger. He picked up cycling as rehab, and somewhere along his bike journey, I started riding bikes with him just to hang out with Dad. Picked up bike racing, morphed into sort of the career that I have now.
It's excellent. And been in the cycling industry. Like for me, I was 17, I think, when I found like the local shop, and now here I am like 30 years later. I hate to say that out loud, but and same thing for you. You've just kind of had this nice career in the cycling industry since you found it.
Yeah, so I started working in bike shops when I went to college. Prior to that, lived in a small town, didn't have a bike shop. So learned a lot, was very fortunate to work under some great folks early on in my bike journey, and then kind of fell in love with bikes. The bike bug fully got me, and this has been my life ever since.
So your role now is president of Look USA. Prior, you were president of Niner Inc. Leadership roles, how has that been to navigate? I know, you've been in the industry through COVID and now these changing times. Pretty spectacular career you've had.
I've been fortunate, and I've worked in some really fun environments and some challenging environments. And honestly, some of the harder environments are probably where I learned the most. Gone through a few ownership changes. Those are always eye-opening, and it kind of teaches you how to read the room, how to be adaptable, and how to not let the small stuff really get you too bogged down.
Yeah, I love that. Don't let the small stuff get you bogged down. As president of Look Cycle now, I'm sure your past roles have really made you be very, I don't know, pointed when you decide your approach to directing and leading a brand. We have seen brands go full-hearted into supporting specialty retailers, other brands going direct to consumer, omni-channel. Um, how have your past roles, maybe the way you view the current industry landscape, kind of shaped your approach to leading Look Cycle USA now?
I guess first and foremost, I not only worked in retail, but I owned an IBD for a while. So prior to joining the dark side of brand side, spent a lot of time in retail. So I think I'm empathetic to the retailer challenges, although it constantly evolves. My primary goal is to be ethical in my approach to IBDs, to try to listen and understand where they're at, how we can help them, and obviously try to give them the best tools we can to be successful with our brand, telling our brand message and our product message in retail.
I love when I get the pleasure of working with people who have owned or worked in a specialty bicycle retail environment who are now in leadership roles on the supply side, because I think it does really give you that special viewpoint and ability to relate to the retailers that you're working with. And I'm so happy to see that Look is committed to supporting the specialty bicycle retailer. I mean, we all know that we need to be present on multiple channels to reach consumers, but the specialty bicycle retailer does play a critical role in that final, delivery and warranty and service of the product once it's in field. So Look Cycle USA, like tell me, like Look's history is well known. The brand has been around, has a great legacy. Um, what's your vision for Look in the USA now? I know we've got different, I know there's bicycles, there's pedals, but tell me more about Look USA.
Well, I guess first and foremost, look, we kind of have two, major product pillars. It's sort of the pedal cleat part of our business, and then bicycles, which in our case is very boutique in nature, high-end road, gravel, e-bikes, things of that nature. My vision is to try to thoughtfully grow brand share, mind share here in the US without eroding product value or retail value. So that means, really having authentic map policy, enforcing it, talking to retailers about what's going on in the marketplace, because you have your own strategies. But then at the end of the day, we're reacting to both the riders' needs, retailers' needs, things of that nature. And so we try to be flexible in our approach, and be consistent, in guarding the product value, and by that, the margin that's available for our retailer partners.
When I think of Look, I do think of, exceptional carbon bikes, light, like very powerful, eye-catching. I just think fast. How is the road market, and is that what Look is still like really known for? I just think of these premium, beautiful machines.
I think when you hear the word look, in a lot of cases, it resonates with that high-end road segment. And I think that's going to always be core part of what Look is. But the brand has been trying to evolve over the years to be a bit more approachable. I mean, the reality is we make pedals for pretty much any enthusiast cyclist at this point, from a platform, $40 pedal all the way up to power pedals for both road and off-road. So I think the high-end road is very close and near and dear to our hearts. I think for me, I was a professional road cyclist briefly, and so road cycling still is very near and dear to my heart. I think I'm lucky in the area that we're in physically here with the Look office. Still has a very strong road cycling component. You still see big group rides. You see people with big smiles on their face on the Saturday morning rides, and so I feed off that to a large extent. I think as we go forward, and especially in the U.S., that performance road cycling has some challenges, just access to roads, road safety, things of that nature that we all kind of have to work on. But there's still a lot of passion, which is really fun to participate in.
Yeah, so I was also I was doing some research getting ready for our conversation today, and I see you have the Optimum Rival, your e-road bike. How's the traction on that? I mean, e-road bikes just seem to me like such an opportunity for our industry.
Yeah, I think e-bikes can be something different for each brand depending on how you approach it. For Look, really what we focus on is sort of the high-end performance segments of e-bikes. So we make an e-road, an e-gravel bike that's a bit of a chameleon, can go both ways. It's a class 3 bike. And so our riders are folks that are either coming back to cycling after an injury and they need a little help, or they're looking to kind of equalize their group. Maybe they're not quite as strong as the strongest person they ride with, and those e-bikes can really kind of level the playing field. Um, for me, there's a lot of emotion when it comes to e-bikes, and I've been part of a lot of conversations there. But I always tell people, I challenge you to go ride an e-bike and come back without a smile on your face.
Yeah.
You can have your own concerns about safety, things of that nature, which I think can all be addressed, but they have a way of making cycling more accessible to a bigger group, which I think is great.
Yeah. So for our listeners who aren't familiar with all of the product lines, we will link in the show notes a link directly to lookcycle.com US website, and you can see, I mean, wheels, pedals, gears, components. I mean, it's just so much. The bikes are there. So definitely check that out. Mike, Look is making a renewed investment in the US. Can you tell our listeners what's driving that strategy? Because I feel like there is really just a push right now to really capture more retailers, maybe capture more consumer interest.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to join the company at a time where they were willing and eager to invest in the US. And so I've been able to build up a team. We reopened the office here in early 2018. And like a lot of folks, we gained some market share and some revenue through the COVID period. And I think collectively we're all trying to recenter, regroup post that. But the company is dedicated to the market and dedicated to building the market in a way that we're not eroding the dealer's ability to make margin, to make the sale. And so while we're looking at the digital side of that, we are still extremely dedicated to the retailer. And I get that support from ownership, which is, at the end of the day, I can have a strategy, but my ownership group doesn't agree with it. It's going to be really hard for me to deploy that.
Yeah, I like to hear that you've got that alignment. So Look USA is located, I think you said headquarters are in Tampa, Florida area. What does the team look like today? So it's you. Are we working with inside reps, outside reps? Like, just let us know how you're building Look USA to support retailers and a little bit more about your team.
It's a relatively small team, purposely built so that we were flexible. So as we started the business, we really didn't know exactly where we were going to land. And so we've got a small group of full-time employees, quite a few contractors. On the sales rep side of things, we use both full-time employees and independent contracted reps. It kind of depends on the market. For Florida and Southern California, we have full-time sales reps that were inside sales employees that now work in the field. But the team is a small group of very passionate folks. Most everybody has either worked in retail or lives in the cycling universe as their sort of their passion, and so that makes it a little bit easier day to day.
It is fun to build up a team of passionate individuals for sure. You have, I'm surely built quite the network of retailer relationships over your years in the industry, and I'm sure you talk to retailers weekly, if not daily. What are you hearing from retailers right now? Like, what's the, I'm hearing that like things are still challenging. Like retailers are working really hard to make a profit to keep the doors open. Discounting continues, but what are you hearing? Like, let's see, we're recording September 2025.
Well, I think we continue to hear a pretty wide range of reactions when you talk to retailers, and I think great retailers are going to continue to evolve and adapt and kind of overcome. There are plenty of folks that are in challenging positions, and I think the ones that didn't take some of the gains from COVID and invest in their business, whether that's staff, their store infrastructure, the e-com or digital marketing elements of what they do. If they didn't invest that money, they're probably struggling now. I think, collectively shops are still nervous, and I think it's fair to say there's still, on the aggregate, there's still too much inventory, both in the hands of retailers and brands. That continues to be a challenge. I think we're on the right side of it. I think we have sort of hit the bottom, so to speak. A little nervous about forecasting, but it feels like we're getting gradual improvements. The ridership side, I do have some participation in the Fuel for Bikes group subcommittees, and I get access to data there that a lot of people don't. And what you see there is the participation data is still very strong. So people are riding bikes, they're going to events. They may not be purchasing quite as much as they did in previous years, but the usage data is there. So eventually, I think this comes back. We're just going to have to finish this challenging post-COVID reality.
Yeah, just keep working through it, right? I 100% agree with that. I was on your website. I really enjoy that you have the nice link that says our dealers. And when you pull up the dealer map, you're seeing what category the dealer is stocking, a website if they have one. We've talked just briefly, like kind of in broad strokes, about how Look USA is supporting specialty bicycle retailers in a unique way. But can you go a little bit more granular on that?
Yes, I think, when I first joined the company, you do your survey, you try to figure out where you're at, what you need to improve upon. And pretty clearly what I heard from retailers and other riders in the market was we needed to step up our service. And so mission number one was sort of this pre-post service routine and making sure we answer people very quickly. So within 24 hours, there's an answer, there's 48 hours a solution. We've never had bad defect rates, but in the past, our process of diagnosing a warranty or asking questions was just a little bit too long, and it left people off their bikes. And so we prioritized speed, resolving those situations, getting people back on the road. We carry a very large inventory of supply service parts. A lot of brands can get caught in a trap of not supporting parts or not supporting products after they're obsolete. We keep parts in stock for between 5 and 7 years post obsolescence, which means the retailer has that support later because we do sell a durable good. It's going to be around for a long time. I think lastly, recently we've been really putting a lot of resource and time into developing our dealer facing tools. So whether that's B2B or digital asset sites, things of that nature to kind of modernize what we do to make it easier for dealers to get the information they need, figure out, what do we have in stock, how quickly can they get it? And we believe that's paying off.
Sound like great programs, and they will continue to pay off. Retailers really appreciate that. Where do you think, I guess, like this is like a tagged on question, brands sometimes get it wrong when working with retailers? There's a lot of kind of, I mean, the MBDA, we're trying to bring people together and make great solutions, but sometimes brands do just get it wrong. Um, I hate to put you on the spot with that, but that was a pretty pointed one, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to lose empathy for the other person that you're dealing with. If you're the brand, you lose empathy or sensitivity to the retailer side of the equation and vice versa. And I think that's where the biggest challenges lie, or where the two sides aren't looking at each other as human beings trying to, make the best cycling life they can. And I think a lot of brands get lost in their own agendas or their own sort of strategy and lose sight of the fact that there's a partner, a retailer who's going to live and die, based on some of those decisions. And so we try to be empathetic. We try to make a case of hiring folks in that have some measure, if not quite a lot, of retailer, in retail time. I think that time gives you some empathy and some understanding that really you can't teach.
Yeah.
And so I think the brands that lose sight of that and don't understand that there's other people involved, in getting their product to the final user, to the rider, um, you can get in some bad traps there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you know my history of working with Ridley and Eddie Merckx cycles on the supply side, but challenging growing some of these legacy brands where we have riders or consumers who recognize the brand located geographically all across, let's say, North America, and building up that retailer base to be able to service those riders who are, looking for something closer to home and not wanting to drive 300 or 400 miles to see something in person or do that test ride that's so important. So I was looking at your dealer map. So a strategy for Look right now, would it be to focus on making sure that you do have retailer partnerships spread out to serve your riders and consumers across the US and North America?
Yeah, I think like every brand, we're definitely on a mission to grow door share or the number of dealers that carry the product. I'm pretty fortunate that the Look brand is, as you said earlier, a storied brand. It's been around for a long time. Most people know it. The reality is we, in parts of the world have upwards of 50% market share in the pedal categories. And so stores can carry something, even if it's just cleats from us. And so we do get quite a bit of a wide exposure, but our sales reps probably get tired of me saying grow your door share.
Yeah.
It's right now we're in a mode, not to oversimplify, but we're sort of in this like sales 101 moment where you don't have to be terribly sophisticated, you just have to be consistent, make the store visits. We tell our reps, you've got to get in the car, you've got to go to the retailer, you got to talk to them, you got to find out what they need, how can we help them, have those conversations, uh, and there's just no shortcut. It just takes work, it takes time, and you have to listen and see what you can do to be the best vendor partner you can.
Yeah, it does take time to build up those relationships. As I'm drooling a little bit, Mike, over the wheels. I had no idea you used to be a racer. Do you ride? I'm sure you must have some experience with, yeah. What are you on? What's your current bike?
I'm a little spoiled as part of the lifelong bike industry cult, and especially given my role with the company, I get some pretty nice toys. Um, I've kind of gotten out of the habit of collecting bikes. I don't know where that happened, but somewhere, 10, 15 years ago, I just said, bikes are kind of like tools, and I like the newest things. So I tend to circulate my bikes probably a little bit quicker than some. But I'm currently riding a 795 Di2 build with some very nice zip wheels on.
That's awesome. It is about the bike. The bike does make a difference. It really does. I love that. Let's go into a little bit more into the product lineup and pedals. I owned a store way back when we were selling Look pedals. There's still pedals are, I'd say, a cornerstone of Look's product lineup. And a really easy accessory sale for many retailers when they're selling a bike to include pedals. Any strategies that you recommend that you have seen retailers use in the field, that retailers who are listening could utilize to really maximize selling pedals in the store and the profitability in that category as well? Like so often we just
You touch,
don't really focus on it, but it's a huge opportunity, right, Mike?
it is, and I think one of the things that sort of pops to mind is that pedals and cleats in retail has changed slightly some from when I owned my store. So I think if I reflect back, and it's been a while now, when I had my store, pedals and cleats in most stores I visited and in my own store were a prominent accessory purchase, right? So they were on the floor, they were merchandised alongside, whether it's in the shoe section, but it was a routine. You would take people through the helmets, the shoes, the pedals. I think nowadays, in a lot of cases, the pedals have moved and migrated closer to service. So whether they're on the wall next to the service intake area, or in a lot of cases, in the counter, sort of behind the service intake area, which is where we don't want them to be. The reality is they are seen as a service item. And so, we're having to evolve kind of how we talk to shops and how we educate. And the reality now is that the service intake rider, the mechanics are in a lot of cases the gateway to, a performance pedal for a lot of riders. And so they know how our technology works, how to keep it reliable. There's a big conversation with retailers right now about service, repair and replace, right? Pedals do wear out. People think that they don't, but eventually they do. They have bearings in them. So like a headset, like a bottom bracket, they need to be serviced. And then honestly, the biggest thing dealers can do is just make sure that they're inspecting, pedals and cleats to make sure their riders are safe. It sounds silly, but I'd say 90% of cleats out there are past the point of no return. And at some point, it's not safe. So if retailers can just get in a routine of checking people's shoes when they take a bike in for a tune-up, quite often they're going to be replacing cleats, and that'll make everybody safer in the end.
What a great strategy there. Yeah, we don't always think about that, but I like tying it into the service department and also making sure we're doing that inspection. Fantastic advice there. I guess maybe since I have you, road and gravel bikes seem to be a challenge for retailers because some retailers want to stock a whole slew of road bikes and have a great selection, size run. It takes up a lot of cash that could be sitting on the floor. Do we need to stock that many road bikes? Should we just show premium models? Like any tips for selling high-end road or gravel bikes?
Um, I don't think there's one model that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Our approach, because we do sell a boutique product that is expensive, you point out, it's a big commitment on the inventory side of things. So the retailer needs to be smart. We give a lot of instruction to our sales reps not to be overtly pushy. We don't really do pre-seasons or pre-books. We're mostly an on-demand vendor. And so that means we carry a bit more inventory in the peak times of the year as opposed to forcing the retailer to take large preseason orders. I think that's a very IBD centric approach that sometimes we get credit for it, sometimes we don't. But we try to feed the retailer as well all the information that we've got. So we do give them sell-through patterns. We say, here's the models we see selling best, whether that's regionally or nationally, try to help and guide them. The reality is we don't have as wide a product range as maybe some other brands do. And so while it's expensive, it's a manageable project, to bring in some look road bikes and gravel bikes, have a handful of models to show on the floor, and then we can fill in usually within 2 days to 3 days from our warehouse, anything that they need.
Super fast, super efficient, makes it easy for the retailer. And I know you have frames and complete bikes. Are retailers doing better with one or the other, or does that also really geographically and by retailer depend?
I think that in large ways that's retailer focused. So if you've got a strong fitter, custom build component to your business, and obviously frame up or custom builds is a great way to build a completely unique bike. And I think in our category of business, the boutique road, boutique gravel, that's probably as important as anything, right? People don't want to buy a $10,000 bike and then look over in the group ride and see a clone. Everybody wants to be a special snowflake to some extent. So that custom business is a way to build something unique. I think the availability of drivetrains influences this quite a bit. Right now, there's quite a lot. So the opportunity is there. If retailers want to make custom bikes, it's fairly easy these days. We do both. We try to make the best choices we can for a complete bike, but it's never going to be exactly what everybody likes. So we welcome the customization.
Nice to see the super record bike still in the lineup too. It's like we got SRAM, Shimano, and we have our campy diehards, so it's nice to see that still in the lineup. Um, is it popular, Mike, the super record? We still have, I mean, it seems like campy's still got its cult following a little bit.
Yeah, I think, Campy is one of those brands that people get tattoos of. So take that for what it's worth. We have a partnership with Campagnolo with the Cofidis team. So the team that we sponsor is sponsored by Campagnolo. They're the only team on Campy in the Pro Tour right now. And so there's pretty deep partnership. As far as popularity, I think the early days of any Campy release are pretty exciting, and we sort of get bombarded, and it's always a balancing game of trying to have the right inventory in stock to meet the demand, and then feather that throughout the year. But the current Grupo, I hear great things. I haven't ridden the newest version of Super Record 13, but from what I understand, uh, made a lot of improvements to the prior group. So people seem to be pretty excited.
Love that. I mean, Mike, you've been with Look now for 8 years, I think. So has it been really a lot of fun to be involved in a brand that has such a great legacy and grow it in the US market?
It is, and I've spent my career in cycling in the bike industry, and sort of at my age now, I get to make a few choices that I couldn't make when I was a younger man. And I told myself prior to joining Look that I really wanted to join, a brand where number one, they manufactured most of what they sold internally, like in their own facility. I think there's a passion that comes through when you work for a company that actually makes what they sell as opposed to subcontracting it out. It's tangible. I've been in both environments, and I really enjoy the manufacturing biased groups. The brand resonates with me. My first clipless pedals were, a pair of white 86 pedals back in it's a long time ago now, but that made an impression on me. I watched Greg LeMond as a teenager, racing the tour, and so there's a lot of emotional ties for me back to when I started cycling. That helped me. There's tough days. There's good days and bad days, and having some of those emotional connections to the riders and the brand really helps you get through inevitably what's going to be some tough times. But I really enjoy it. It's a great group of people, very passionate, really care about what they make, making it better over time, and I think that makes all the difference.
Yeah, and when I was working, with Ridley and Merckx, it felt and Bianchi it felt like such a small part of a company and organization that like we really could impact the relationships with retailers. We really could impact what we were doing out in the consumer channel. It felt really good. So kudos to you. I'm really happy to hear that. So let's get more retailers, looking at the Look website, maybe reaching out to your team, wanting to know more. I see there is a Become a Dealer link on your website. If we have a retailer listening, what's the best way to get connected with Look and learn more about how, your dealer programs and how to move forward with you?
So as you said, all the links are there on the website. You can also email us at sales.usa@lookcycle.com. Our phone numbers are listed there. We'll take it any way you want it. We're eager to talk to folks. We say in every piece of literature we publish, we want to earn your business. We try to hold ourselves accountable, but we know right now it's challenging. There's a lot of distraction, and I'm hoping that retailers see what we do, see the commitment to the retail environment, to map integrity, things like that. And I know that we're a real partner and not just a brand trying to just push more product into their store.
Yeah.
So
I think that's cool. So, any retailers listening, at least reach out, start a conversation. That can't hurt. See where it goes from there. Really exciting to consider bringing premium road, gravel, and then all the components and pedals and other products. 2026, Mike, is like freaking. It's coming so fast. It's like I can't even believe we're in the fall already of 25. Any new programs, products, events you'll be at? Anything that listeners might need to know to expect from Look in 2026?
well, we've got a series of product launches that really about once a quarter we've got something new. Quite a lot of it is too far out to really get into it here in the podcast, but we've got some exciting new stuff. I think for me personally, we've got a new product launching in October, which is we make a series of pedals we call Vision, which has lights on the backs of the pedals. And for the first time, we've been able to add that feature to our Keo Blade, Keo 2 Max, our most popular road pedals. And as a road cyclist, I've been sort of obsessed with road safety from a personal aspect here for the last couple of years. So I've been really pushing them to get this thing to market. Really excited, and we'll finally start getting it out into retailers. And so I think I'm excited about that, just because beyond the sales aspect of things, being part of adding some extra safety to road cycling, I can feel good about that.
Yeah, 100%. I saw those pedals. Like I was looking at the website and saw those lit up ones, and I was like, this is a really neat safety feature. Um, Mike, I really appreciate Look being part of the National Bicycle Dealers Association, your support of specialty bicycle retailers. Will does Look intend to be at any trade shows? So if retailers wanted to interact with you, maybe at SEAT or one of the CABDA shows, anything where they might come experience Look in person in 2026?
We attended the CABDA Midwest and West last year, plan to be there again next year. Sea Otter is something that seems to be unavoidable for any brand, so we'll be there. Hopefully we get good weather. But we try to show up to as many of those functions as we can. In addition to that, we try to find moments where we can be at the fondos, at the gravel events, both to support the riders and racers that we sponsor, but also to make sure we understand what's happening, and we can read the market. And so you'll see Look folks out in the field. You don't have to look very hard.
Excellent. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on Bicycle Retail Radio. I really hope that this podcast did open up more of our listeners' eyes to Look brand and that you do have people reaching out. Best contact, again, I guess, would be to send them to the website, or what was that email address again, Mike, that you said?
Yep, it's sales.usa@lookcycle.com.
Easy.
And like you said, on the website, that same email is listed along with all the phone numbers, and we'd love to chat.
Excellent. Mike, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.